Hello and good evening. We just wanted to wait a few minutes to get everybody logged in to our webinar tonight. Today we have the wonderful Dani Williamson, our December Practitioner of the Month. She is a trailblazer in integrative functional medicine. Dani is also the proud owner of Integrative Family Medicine and Wild and Well Wellness Emporium in Franklin, Tennessee. She is a champion of gut health, autoimmune thyroid diseases, hormone and adrenal health, and she's here today to discuss how chronic inflammation affects our overall health. I would say that our test definitely looks at some predispositions in the inflammation area, but Dani is kind of the voice of inflammation, and I will let her take it away and discuss all the fascinating facts and things that she does when it comes to inflammation and how we work with it.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be the voice of inflammation and not the face of inflammation, right? You don't want that face full of inflammation, but yeah, inflammation is the devil for sure. And I wrote a whole book on it, right? On inflammation, but talking and you guys do a fantastic job. I was just reading my markers again and stuff before inflammation. You do a fantastic job looking at inflammation, but going back to before people even have genetic testing done or work with you, most of us are born healthy. Most of us, not everyone is born healthy, right? We turn on those chronic lifestyle diseases, right? Like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, lupus, like me, fibromyalgia, depression, chronic itching, irritable bowel syndrome. All the things, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, those are chronic lifestyle diseases, right? Turned on by your lifestyle, turned off by your lifestyle. I am living proof that if you were born healthy, you do not have to live sick. And I lived sick for 24 years. I grew up in complete chaos in my family. I had a grandfather that died by suicide. A mom was mentally ill and attempted suicide multiple times. I was molested by one stepfather, beat up by the other stepfather. I had chronic diarrhea, chronic horrible diarrhea starting in high school. First colonoscopy at age 20, the fourth one at age 44. Every gastroenterology test known to man, right? Diagnosed with irritable bowel when I was 20 years old, and then lupus and itching and fibromyalgia and depression. All of this, not one doctor, 24 years, 10 doctors. Not one doctor asked me, what are you eating? I was 44 years old before the doctor I was working for, Dr. Dan Kalb, leaned into me one day and said, Dani, what are you eating? Don't you know your diet controls your inflammation, controls your symptoms? And then he went down a list of whole other things. And that childhood trauma that I grew up in was the root of the beginning of 24 years of chronic lifestyle disease. Now, I've since reversed every single thing, every single chronic disease. I still have lupus, but it's so far under the radar inflammatory wise. I don't have any symptoms of lupus and I'm not on any medication. So going back upstream, you think, okay, what happened to us? Well, trauma. I have a childhood trauma score, ACE score of 6. I grew up in a lot of trauma, and that was the root. None of that was ever addressed. But we're not here to talk about trauma. We're here to talk about epigenetics and inflammation. And for me, I work with 6 steps to healing. Eat well, sleep well, move well, poop well, de-stress well, and commune well. And I really feel like if we can get those 6 steps or 6 pillars or whatever you want to call them under control, then our inflammatory response goes down and we're able to reverse or turn back greatly decades of chronic lifestyle disease. And I do believe that your diet is pretty much the root of the bulk of the inflammatory response going on in your body. I grew up eating Pop-Tarts and Captain Crunch and frozen pizzas. And we lived in the country and we had a garden, but I ate a lot of processed, packaged, bagged, fake, man-made food, creating tremendous amounts of inflammation in my body. And I'm a big proponent of looking at food sensitivities, which you guys do. Food sensitivities, seeing what it is you're eating that's creating inflammation. You could be eating incredible food that's hurting your body, like avocados. My body does not like avocados, nor does it love cashews. Cashews were number one on my food sensitivity 13 years ago. But the top 7 foods that create inflammation, and many of you may already know this: gluten, dairy, soy, corn, sugar, eggs, and peanuts. Those are the top 7 inflammatory foods in the United States. And patients tell me every day, they go, Dani, what am I going to eat if I cut those 7 foods out? That's everything I eat. Well, then you're eating a lot of processed, packaged, fake Franken food. You're driving through Chick-fil-A or McDonald's or Taco Bell. I had a new patient yesterday, 68 years old, has chronic diarrhea. He goes through McDonald's, Taco Bell, and Hardee's 3 to 4 times a week. Well, I know what's happening. He's eating fake food. So, but there's tons, there's hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of real one ingredient food out there for you to bring down the inflammatory response. Fish, chicken, turkey, lamb, fruit, seeds, nuts, vegetables, right? All the things. So I start with diet. I eliminate those 7 foods on patients, and we start bringing down the inflammatory response like that. That's the beauty of our body. It wants to heal itself. It wants to be 150%. It doesn't take much to right ship it, but you've got to control what's at the end of your fork. What's at the end of your fork will heal you or kill you. You can take all the supplements in my supplement store that you want, but you cannot out supplement a bad diet, an inflammatory diet. You can have your genetics done. That's fantastic. Do it, right? But you can't out supplement that. So you've got to start with the diet. So I'm a big believer in eating real food, looking at your food sensitivities. Y'all are good at doing that. Looking at your food sensitivities and starting an anti-inflammatory. I'm a fan of a Mediterranean diet. Now, you can eat a carnivore diet. You can eat a paleo, whole food, whole 30. I don't care. It just needs to be a whole food diet. But I am a fan of an anti-inflammatory Mediterranean diet. So is the American Heart Association, the American Diabetes Association. Every chronic disease association out there promotes a Mediterranean diet. So that's the first thing that I do to bring down the inflammatory response in your body is get patients eating well. It's very emotional. We're very emotionally connected to food. Everything we do revolves around food, especially this season, right? But from funerals to weddings to baby showers to birthdays, food is involved. So you have to make some hard choices, and you have to decide that I want to feel better, and I'm not ever going back to feeling like that again. I'm not. There's not enough gluten and dairy in the world to make me do that. I'm not doing it, period. You got to eat well. You have to sleep well. You want to bring inflammation down in your body, you get yourself sleeping. In fact, the older I get, and I'll be 58 in 3 weeks, the older I get, sleep and diet are side by side in how important they are. And I think many of you probably believe that. If you don't sleep, you can't heal. Your body heals when you sleep. You have to have this phone out of your bedroom, right? The bed is for sleep and sex only. 2 things. That's it. That's all you need to be doing in your bed. If you're not sleeping or having sex, you need to get out of the bed. No TVs, no computers, no wireless routers in there, no cell phones, anything like that is going to create an inflammatory response and disrupt your circadian rhythm in your body. Every hour you get before midnight is worth 2 hours of sleep after midnight. So I'm a big believer in sleep. If you need a sleep study, if you snore, you need to get a sleep study. You don't automatically have sleep apnea if you snore, but you have a 90% chance of having sleep apnea. So it's pretty good chance. Sleep apnea will kill you. I know my next door neighbor right here, the house I'm looking at right there, her husband died at 26, untreated sleep apnea, in the bed, dead. She woke up to a dead husband. He refused to wear his CPAP machine. It'll take on average 10 to 16 years off of your lifespan if you don't get tested and treated. So maybe you need some magnesium. Maybe you need a good sleep hygiene and a routine. You got to think about that. When you eat better, most of the time you sleep better. And guess what? When you sleep better, you've got the energy to eat better. It works together. Sleep is key. You got to eat well, sleep well. You have to move well. If you want to decrease inflammation, if you want to decrease chronic disease, you've got to move well. And I don't care what you do. In fact, I was just out in Las Vegas with you guys at the A4M Anti-Aging Longevity Conference, and I listened to a lecture. The lecturer called it exercise snacks. You need to do exercise snacks all through the day. I teach this all day, every day, but I've never called it that. Little bitty bits of exercise, minute burst of exercise, high, jumping, running, high knees, moving the arms, jumping jacks, a minute of squats, do a minute of push-ups, a minute of sit-ups, boom, boom, boom. Work your exercise into your lifestyle. Those of us who say, I don't have time to go to the gym, then get your exercise in during the day. It's great, and I talk about it all the time, but I love the concept of exercise snacks. And she had us do a minute of high knee jumping out there. Everybody, some people on high heels, and you got 1,000 people in the big stage over there doing it. It was crazy, but you felt great when it was over. And if you have an Aura ring, it really does help you move well. I mean, you know where your steps are, but you've got to move your body. Our body was designed to move. I don't care if you don't like to exercise. You've got to move. So if you don't like to exercise, ask your friend Bobby, right? Ask your friend Courtney, ask Chad, right? Let's work out together. Meet me. I'll meet you at 6 a.m. on the corner. You're not going to leave your buddy on the corner. So when you move well, you sleep well or better. You sleep better. Maybe you sleep well. You eat better. The research is clear on that. The more you exercise, the better, the more you move your body, the healthier you are. You're going to eat better and you're going to sleep better. It could be ballroom dancing. My mom, which we're going to talk about in a minute, just died of Alzheimer's with Alzheimer's disease. Generally, Alzheimer's doesn't kill you, and it didn't. It was actually vascular disease that killed her. But she had full-blown Alzheimer's disease by age 72. And she's dead. She died August the 18th. She refused to exercise. She ate terribly. She ate all the Splenda she wanted in the world. She ate processed packaged food. She ate real food too, but she loved sugar, which we know they call that type 3 diabetes. They call Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes. And she smoked since she was 12 years old, nonstop. Boom, 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 12 years old, 50 years of smoking. No, 60 years of smoking. But she didn't sleep well either. And we know that insomnia contributes to Alzheimer's disease. So eating or sleeping well is moving well is key. Ballroom dancing, huge. It's great. It's number one exercise for dementia and early memory loss is ballroom dancing, hula hooping, rollerblading. I don't care what you want to do, but you got to move your body, people, if you want to decrease the inflammation in your body. Now, if you feel worse after you exercise, then you're doing the wrong exercise. If you go to CrossFit and you have to come home and lay down for an hour and a half or 2 hours, then that's not the exercise for you. I don't care if it is for your best friend. You need to go to something gentler. And it could be anything, yoga, Pilates, whatever. I don't care. You got to eat well. You have to sleep well. You've got to move well. You most certainly have to poop well. I had a new patient today, and she poops about once a week. She's had chronic constipation since she was a kid. I did an ACE questionnaire on her, the Adverse Childhood Experience questionnaire on her, and she's an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 childhood trauma. She has high childhood trauma. Well, we know that childhood trauma many times affects the person, the man or the woman, either with the throat right here because they don't have a voice, they can't speak, they're in the middle of trauma, right? So their thyroid gets affected or their gut, and that's how it affected me was the gut. I didn't clamp down like she did, right? She said her mom used to have to give her enemas when she was a newborn baby, but her mother was beat up while she was in the womb. She lost multiple babies because she was beat up by the father. So childhood trauma will absolutely affect your GI system and every system in your body, every tissue in the body. The body keeps score of the trauma. So you have to poop well. And I tell people, you need to have a bowel movement 2 or 3 times a day would be ideal, but I will take every single day. But if you're not pooping daily, you're constipated. And if you have a healthcare provider that tells you that it's okay and it's normal to poop a few times a week, you need a new healthcare provider. Maybe you're dehydrated. This is the number one reason for constipation right here, lack of water. If you're drinking coffee, while during the day, if you drink 8 ounces of coffee, 10 ounces of coffee, you got to add 8 or 10 more ounces of water. So I'm 130 pounds or so. I need a minimum of probably 70 ounces of water a day. I know I do because I drink coffee. So we've got to get you going to the bathroom. Maybe you need some genetics, some magnesium. I don't know if there are genetics for constipation or not. I have no idea about that. Y'all would know that. But you've got to go to the bathroom. When you eat better, you will poop better. When you poop better, you eat better. You exercise better, you sleep better. I mean, it's all connected. If you don't go to the bathroom, if you're constipated, get a squatty potty or put your feet up on something so that your feet are elevated. When you go to the bathroom, you know how in other countries, how they squat to go to the bathroom. What's the same concept? So get you a stool, get you a trash can, buy a squatty potty. I have no connection with them, but they work beautifully. And it'll help you go to the bathroom. It's key. You've got to de-stress well. Stress will kill you. It kills people every single day. Stress is associated with billions of dollars of healthcare visits every year. Also, millions upon millions of absentee days at work every year. If you don't think stress is killing us, then you don't know anything about suicide prevention. I'm on the board for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention in Tennessee. The fastest growing rate of suicide in the United States is age 10 to 24. Inside that group, age 10 to 13. So stress is a killer. And many times we are in control. Oftentimes we're not. If you're dealing with childhood trauma, you're not in control of the stress. But we add on things that are going to contribute to that stress, which are going to contribute to the inflammation, right? We say yes to things. If I didn't want to do this webinar today, I would have said no. I can't do it. I'm scheduled out. I can't do it. If you're watching this on Zoom, we've got these little squares around us here. This is how we and I've got margin on either side of me. As women, for sure, we don't have any margin in our life. We say yes to everything. We never say no. And we're complaining. We're upset. We're overworked. We set the tone as women for the home. We set the tone for the home. If we're overworked, overcommitted, there's no margin. So I'm challenging you to automate, eliminate, and delegate everything you can out of your life to decrease the stress level in your life. Because when you're stressed, you're not going to eat well. You're certainly not going to sleep well. You're not going to move well, and you're not going to poop well. It's just, it is what it is. But stress is killing us. Automate, eliminate, and delegate everything you can. Christmas is soon. It's very soon. If you don't want to host it at your house, it's not too late. Don't do it. You have the right to pick the phone up and send a group text and say, you know what, I can't do it this year. I'll be glad to come to somebody else's house. But you talk about contributing to inflammation in your body. Stress raises inflammation in your body exponentially. So I'm a big one on setting boundaries. And the more boundaries I set in my life, the happier I get. Nothing gets on your schedule unless you say yes. So stop saying yes all the time. Know what is the best thing for you and your family. And remember, as women, we do set the tone for the home. And once you decrease the stress in your life, you'll have more margin to do the things that you love. Create a life that you don't have to escape from. Build the self-care into your life so that you don't have to escape in order to be happy. I'm telling you, as an old lady now, that is one of the best things that I ever learned in my life. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock, I have a Thai massage. In fact, a 2-hour Thai massage scheduled in Bowling Green. And I scheduled it into my day. And I'm driving to Bowling Green for it because she's the best. And then you have to commune well. Research is clear. When you have community, and this goes back to stress too, and the rates of suicide going up. Many people have no community anymore. There's a huge percentage, I can't remember, I have it in the book, daggone it, of the people who say they don't have one friend that they can rely on. That's heartbreaking to me. And I think this is one of the big reasons right here. And of course, COVID did not help it. But when you laugh with your people, when you have community and you are hoo-hawing, laughing, having fun, playing games, whatever, cards, drinking wine, which creates inflammation, but hopefully it negates it. When you're laughing with your tribe, your inflammation goes down, your cortisol levels go down, right? And your inflammatory markers go down when you're laughing. We got decades of research on that. When you're having fun, doesn't take many people to help be your tribe, right? But one or two good solid roots. And community is key, whether it's your church group or AA or Al-Anon or Sexaholics Anonymous. I don't know. Whatever. Those are your people. Cultivate it. So those are the 6 things that I work on. Eat well, sleep well, move well, poop well, de-stress well, commune well. It all works together. And I watch patients' lives change daily, thousands of people through the years, and mine, when I learned what was creating the inflammatory response in my body. And it was all connected, right? I had chronic diarrhea. I didn't have constipation. But when I changed the diet, when I began to exercise more and move my body and sleep better, the bowel movements changed and my stress levels went down. And my stress levels are high. Heck, my mom just died, and I was her only caregiver to a woman who never cared for me. That's a whole big ball of wax right there. You got to unravel. But I feel like I've really handled it well, and I've done a lot of trauma therapy through the years. But the inflammation and the trauma will change the epigenetics, right? And epigenetics, which you all talk about beautifully in your testing, by the way. And I have my testing here. I have my mom's testing here. And you all talk about epigenetics, right? It's how the environment influences your genes. We're not going to change our DNA, right? But your environment, just like I said, no one is born, or most people aren't born with autoimmune disease, right? I wasn't born with lupus. My trauma, the epigenetics triggered those genes in my body to turn on that autoimmune marker in my body. So epigenetics is fascinating to me, the study of on top of your genes, right? And how your environment changes the genetic code in there a little bit. And it can turn on or turn off things. And it's fascinating to me. And for me, it was the trauma that turned it on. But inflammation, your diet can switch on that Crohn's marker, right? That celiac disease marker, that ulcerative colitis marker. We know that. So I love this page that you have here about inflammation. It's funny, when I compared my mom and me together. So you've got this page that talks about, so I tested for generalized inflammation. I tested negative for the marker for increased levels of inflammation, which is the TNF marker, I do believe. But it says you may still have inflammation present, right? So this is your genetics. But if I eat all the processed packaged bag food I want, I'm going to turn that on. It's fascinating to me. The same with the arachidonic acid. I have normal levels of the pro-inflammatory fatty acid, arachidonic acid, but there may still be inflammation present. My mother actually has higher levels of the pro-inflammatory acid in there. She's at risk for higher levels of it. And she clearly turned it on with her diet, her lifestyle, her trauma, and all of that. it's fascinating to me comparing my mother and me. When I checked her Alzheimer's genetics, well, I had already checked my APOE, and I have an APOE 2-3, which apparently, and I'm no genetics expert, Max Gen is, I have a protective one, the 2 there. I think it's the 2. Maybe it's the 3. I can't remember which one's protective.
E3, I think you're referring to E3.
E3?
What's most generally like what you want to hear is E3 on your report.
Yes. And I'm an E2-3. Yeah, E2-3, as is my mother. So, but we don't have an increased risk for Alzheimer's, correct? Is that right, Bobby?
Yes, so the E2, like on our report, it's going to show the risks that predisposition will allow. And then, of course, with all of the supportive factors that you've talked about, that's what we generally, tell people, go ahead and follow that specialty, diet, watch your sleep, your stress, things like that. So those are the key things, even if that predisposition, sorry, I'm stumbling over words, is there. Those are those supportive lifestyle events that you can utilize.
Right. So it says the E2, yeah, elevated risk for high blood pressure, elevated cholesterol, which I don't have, insulin concerns don't have. It says less risk for Alzheimer's. So I was thinking it was more protective. Vertebral fractures. Well, I just got diagnosed with osteoporosis because I'm a little white woman over here that is a higher risk with, postmenopausal. That's a booger. So it's fascinating. My mom, so what I wanted to say about inflammation, epigenetics, and genetic testing. My mother did not have the major risk factors for Alzheimer's disease. She turned that on. And that's heartbreaking to me because no one is born with Alzheimer's disease, right? We turn that on. She turned it on. She doesn't have the risk for it. My grandmother died with it as well at 94. And 10 years ago, and I wish I knew what her genetics were. It would have been interesting. So we have the same. I may get it. I mean, I'm praying to God I don't. I'm not living a lifestyle that I think will turn me on to Alzheimer's, but it won't be because of my diet. That's for sure. Now, the first 44 years of my life were extremely stressful, and epigenetic wise, probably I turned on a lot of things, but here's the beauty of this. Boom. The second you start to make the lifestyle changes in your life, and it is a lifestyle, it's not something you do just for 6 weeks. This is the rest of your life that you make these changes. The minute you start to make changes, you start to feel better. Your body is miraculously made to reverse engineer whatever it is you've done to it, to this divinely made body. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of decreasing inflammation. Always remember that inflammation is the root of 100% of all chronic lifestyle diseases, those diseases you weren't born with. It's very rare that we can say always, all, very rare in medicine. You never say that, but we know that inflammation is the root. And when you address and attack hard the inflammatory response in your body through genetic testing as well, knowing what you're more prone to, or you could be, genetically inclined to lean towards inflammatory wise or depression wise or Alzheimer's wise or methylation wise. When you know that, and when you know how to change that diet and reverse that, it's fascinating what happens. I see it every day in the clinic, and people decreasing their antidepressants, right? I don't take anyone off their medicines. I let their doctors do that because their health, I mean, their results speak for themselves. As they start to come down on their cholesterol medicine or their hypertension medicine, or maybe their antidepressants or ADD medicine, that's a huge one. It's fascinating. And I watch it every day. And when you address the root cause, which the majority of the time is inflammation, your body starts to you start to live the life that you were designed to live. I mean, it is what it is. It's not easy. It's extremely simple what I ask people to do: eat well, sleep well, move well, poop well, de-stress well, commune well. It's real simple, but it's not easy. I'm not asking people to do crazy things. I don't put them on crap tons of supplements. I ask them to address the root cause and the simple steps that I think are very important. There's other ones too. I mean, you got to be emotionally fit, you got to be financially stable. I mean, all those things, but those are my 6. And I watch it happen every day. And it's amazing to watch people reverse that inflammation. And as you all talk about on this inflammation page, right? C-reactive protein, right, which is a cardiovascular inflammatory marker, starts to drop down. And I saw a lady today. She started off at like 10 point something. I don't know, 10 point something. I can't remember. We got it down to 8, 6, 4. And right now it's at like 2.5. And she's mad as a hornet that's 2.5. We want it below 1, but I'm thrilled to death it's 2. Your SED rate, your inflammatory marker starts to decrease, right? Your omega-6 ratios and 3 and 6 ratios start to balance out. It's fascinating. And you can watch all of that by looking at blood markers of these labs. So if you have a healthcare provider that's not checking these labs on you, I highly recommend that you find a new provider. If you have a provider who's not walking the walk with you, who's not helping you address your diet and your sleep, and not ordering you a sleep study, not checking your cardiac calcium scores, not doing these things, not recommending genetic testing, right, for you, then find a new provider. There are plenty of us out there who want to walk the journey with you. And I think that I'm living proof that even at 44, you can turn things around. And I thank God for Dr. Dan Kalb the day he looked at me and said, Dani, what are you eating? Don't you know your diet controls your symptoms? It changed the entire trajectory of my life. And I hope my grandchildren's lives someday when I have grandchildren. Again, it's not simple. It's not easy, but it's very simple. And I appreciate, guys, everything that you all do, genetic wise, testing over here. You've made it so simple for people to follow this.
Yeah, and that's what we wanted the report to be for our customers and patients, is a good foundation, a good blueprint to work from, and it makes you as the practitioner, build out their protocols and programs better at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And I was watching on the slides before we got started, you had some slide that said wellness testing simplified. I wrote it down. Mm-hmm. That is exactly what Max Gen does, because hello, I don't know these genes. I could not tell you what 90% of this is. No provider can. I mean, what the heck is a FABP2 ALA54THR? What? I don't know what any of that means, nor should I. I don't have to know that, right? You know that. But you've broken it down, and it tells us, whatever. It's something about non-esterified fatty acids in the bloodstream after a meal. They don't teach you that in nursing school. But you all really have simplified it. And I'm a huge proponent of you all. We use this test as much as we can, and I'm grateful for you. It really is. The way you spell it out and explain everything is very simplified, and anybody can follow it. And I think it's another tool in your toolbox as a healthcare provider and as a patient. If you go home, if you had this done and you go home and you just throw it up in the file cabinet and be done with it, that's wasted money. I tell people, don't do this stuff. Don't do food sensitivity testing. Don't do cortisol testing. Don't do genetic testing if you're not going to dig deep into it and follow it.
Yeah. We did our genetic testing on my entire family. It started with our youngest son 6-7 years ago, and we still refer back to it. Mm-hmm. Even still, because there's always something that comes up like, hey, maybe we need to look into this or that. And it's a great reference. It's a great resource to go back to.
In fact, this whole, oh, good Lord, what osteoporosis thing I just got diagnosed with, which has just pissed me off, by the way, sorry over it. But, I'm not a weight trainer. I taught yoga for 10 years, but I don't lift weight. So it's what I really need to do is redo mine, because I did mine so many years ago. We didn't have the exercise panel on there like we do my mom, which did no good, right?
Yes.
She couldn't walk. But maybe I'm half her genetics, so maybe I could go off of my mom's, quite frankly. But it tells me what's going to be the best exercise for me. I love that exercise part that you
Yeah.
all do. And it tells you, are you a HIIT person or a, weight training person? Yeah.
Yeah. There's quite a few attendees in here. So if you guys have any particular questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A box while we still have Dani for a few more minutes. If not, let's see if anybody has posted anything. Give me 1 second, Dani.
Okay.
No, I don't have anything coming through just yet.
Nobody wants to. That's fine. I get it. It's the week before Christmas. Nobody wants to.
They just
I'm
wanted to
surprised
absorb
there's
the
anybody on
information.
here. Huh?
They just wanted to absorb the information. But now if you guys are interested in, reaching out to Dani or looking at any of her offerings, she does have a great book, Wild and Well. You can also find that on Amazon. And I think your storefront as well has it on the website. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We have it on the website. We have it in the store, in the supplement store. It's at Barnes and Noble, Amazon.
Yep,
all
everywhere.
Independent. It's everywhere. It
Everywhere.
is a good book.
It's
really
a good book to gift. If you need a last minute gift, hit up Amazon and grab it there.
Good idea. Let me see. I think you can get it maybe real quick on Amazon. Let me see. Of course, I tell people you can buy my book on Amazon. Don't you ever buy a supplement or anything you're going to ingest on Amazon. Nothing.
Exactly.
Oh, look at that. You can get it by Friday, December the 2nd or December 22nd. What am I saying? If you order it right now. Yes. It's a good book.
For those that may have joined us a little late, we will be, this is recorded, so we will be reposting it so you can catch the whole talk here with Dani. She covered 6 wonderful points about how to implement and lower all of the inflammation we deal with on a daily basis. So be sure to catch the replay. That should be up in a day or two for everyone that tuned in late or didn't have a chance to catch us live. So
I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. We loved having you.
Well, I'm passionate about inflammation, and I am telling you, if your hands hurt, that's not normal.
Yeah.
If you're fatigued, that's not normal. And my hands hurt as a kid. My hands hurt, right? I had no idea. Mine was dairy, eggs, and cashews, which I wasn't eating a lot of cashews as kids. So I'm sure it was dairy and eggs, right? It's not normal to hurt. That's not normal. It's not normal to not poop. It's not normal to feel bad or to have migraine headaches every day or to, itch uncontrollably like I did. 2 dermatologists, right? Nobody ever said, what are you eating? Got a lot of steroids, stop the itching, but it never fixed the root cause. There's a root cause for everything that's going on in your body or your patient's body. Or your children's body. Figure it out. Don't just take, here's your pill. Now the pills there are reasons to take medicine, for crying out loud. I know that, but don't let them just cover up a symptom.
Correct.
Get to the root cause.
Yeah. So, okay. I don't see, let me see. Oh, wait, one question. Let's see. I have a 16-year-old with inflammation in her arteries. Very hard to do a diet. Any help in finding the root cause? It's a little bit of a broad question.
That is broad. I don't really know exactly what that means. I mean, I know what arteries are for sure, but inflammation in our arteries, but inflammation. And so I don't know why it's hard to change the diet or whatever. Is that what she said? Hard to change the diet?
Yeah, very hard to do a diet. Probably because it's a teenager. I'm going to assume.
Maybe. But you know what?
I know how hard that is.
So she can drive off and go to Chick-fil-A, which has 53 ingredients in one sandwich. 53 counted. It's on their website. But if they're younger than that, if they're little, like your kids, you're in charge of that diet. So the mom's in charge, the dad's in charge. I mean, you change the diet. It's as simple and as complicated as that right there.
And I would say too with the teenagers, because I've been around the block a couple of times with teenagers in our house. It's more just giving them the education and letting them know what it may or may not do to their bodies and why it's
Bingo.
important to make those changes now. So in 10 years, they're not dealing with even more health issues. And then it's up to them to use those tools in their approach with their own life. They have to kind of have some of that control when
That's
they're
right. And maybe explain to them, look, you were born healthy. Now, I don't know if she was or not, or he, but you were born healthy. And I'm learning about root cause medicine. So something's causing the root cause here. We need to go back. Let's look at your diet. That's the number one. And I would show her every documentary or him known to man, like Fed Up and What's
Mhm.
with Wheat and Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead.
Those are great.
The Grounded. I mean, Game Changers. There's so many documentaries out there. What the Health? There's so many incredible ones out there that may hit home. She could also
Yeah.
read, or they could read the book. That Eat Well chapter is loaded with inflammation. Lord, information. No, there's no inflammation in
Inflammation
that book.
information.
Yeah, but I get that with a teenager, it's very difficult, but
Yeah.
maybe even just give them a really great probiotic or a fish oil. Fish oils are great for lowering inflammation.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes,
And they're asking, in this situation, if basically if they came to you as like a patient, what testing
yeah,
would you typically have done in this situation? Obviously, genetic testing is one thing that we do,
absolutely.
recommend adding in, but is there any additional testing that you would look
Yeah,
at
I would
this?
look at food sensitivity testing for sure and see what it is. And that way they've got it in red, green, and yellow, right? What it
Mhm.
is that they're eating that's hurting them. And that's right there in front of them. And, they can make the choice if someone would have done food sensitivity testing on me at 16 years old, I wouldn't have had lupus. I mean,
Yeah.
and so that, and then, we do a blood panel. I mean, we're looking at their vitamin D3 level. Heck, maybe they don't have any iron. Maybe their ferritin levels low, or their D3 or their B12. I would look at glutathione and homocysteine. We do a full panel
A
on
full
patients.
full functional panels are the way to go and
You
working with
bet.
a
You
functional
bet.
practitioner.
And
Um,
it starts at home. So mom or dad, whoever said that, if the house is full of inflammatory fake food, I mean, it really does start at the
mhm.
top. It's just like the business culture starts at the top, right?
Yeah,
Well, whoever owns it or the CEO. So baby steps on making changes. And man, it's hard. It's
absolutely.
hard when you got a whole family, and not one of them doesn't want anything to do with it. And you've got two that really want to eat well. I mean, it's
Yeah,
awful. I was there. I did it as a single
yeah.
mom with two kids. It was
It's
terrible.
it's
One was
it's
all
a
about it.
it's
The other one wouldn't do a thing and still has all the health issues.
yeah, it's one of those fights you pick your battles sometimes and you just give them those tidbits of that information as they go.
But the
We do
beauty
have
of it, and Bobby, let me say this real fast. I know I've
yeah.
got so many words. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
The beauty of it is the 16-year-olds, the 15-year-olds. I had a 15-year-old Tuesday as a new patient, or Tuesday as a new patient. They are the best. When they start feeling better, they're sassy and they lay back like this, and they're laid back, like not listening and just kind of looking at me. And
Yep.
and they're just awful, honestly. But I love them. Like, they are the hardest to convince. But if they start feeling better, man, they tell
Yeah.
their friends,
Yep.
right? And they know, then when they go to Chick-fil-A after they've been without it, or Mellow Mushroom, and I'm not picking on certain things, they're just bad food, right?
Yeah.
It's not food. Um, they eat it and they feel bad. It changes them. They
It
don't, once
absolutely
they've
does.
cleaned things up. So
Yeah.
they're my favorite to work with. I mean, my
Yeah.
all-time favorite.
We have another question. Do you require doing genetics on all your patients, both child and adults, or
No,
or how do you?
I don't require anything. I tell them what I think we need to do. I lay it out for them. Here's the price. We don't have packages. We don't do like anything like that. No,
Okay.
no, 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 nothing. No, no, whatever membership or anything. I show them what it is. Now, it's not cheap, the first time, but I don't require anything. I
Mhm.
listen for an hour and a half. The first visit's an hour and a half, and I listen to their story and I ask their questions. I ask the questions, eat well, sleep, are you
Yeah.
eating, sleeping, all that. And then I tell them what I think. And it's up to them. And I tell them, man, I'll meet you where you are. I think that's a good provider, is you need somebody who's going to meet you where you are on your journey. because if you require stuff people can't afford, this is not a cheap journey starting off.
That is true.
Now it doesn't cost me, I mean, it's built into my budget now,
Yeah.
but initially it's expensive. Now, some people can do all the testing in the world. There's no money's no object. And they're like,
Mhm.
well, today, I had a new patient today, and she said, I don't worry about this because I worry about money. And she said, I'll do what you need. So
Yeah.
we did
She
what
was
we did.
she was ready to hit the ground running.
She was ready to hit the ground running. And the parents of the 15-year-old that I had this week as well, they were like, whatever it takes. But then I had the 68-year-old, who's retired and whatever, that was eating it 3 days a week at Hardee's McDonald's. I know he's on a budget, so we budgeted everything. I mean, there's a million ways to meet somebody, but
Yeah.
if you don't ever have testing done, start with cutting out those top 7 foods.
Yeah. And that's a great way to start for sure.
Read that Eat Well chapter there, and that'll get you started on eliminating those 7 foods. You won't want to eat eggs again when you know about eggs.
Now everybody's like, well, what about eggs? Get her book.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. I think that was the last question. I don't see any more that have come through. So
guys, thank you for being on here.
Yeah. Thanks for everybody for attending. Thank you, Dani, for taking time out of your evening to be here with us at Max Gen. We did drop in the chat information on how to reach Dani, how to find her clinic, all of her social media. So if anybody wanted any further information from Dani or visit her website to go and purchase a book or some supplements, that information is all there as well. Thank you, Dani, again, and we will be talking with you soon.
See you later, sis.
All right, bye-bye.